let's see with which weapons I will be invading today. And the meme, Falchion. Okay. And then, as the hyper armor weapon, I'll be invading with the Spiked Mace. So the Falchion and the Spiked Mace. Okay guys, see you at your invasions. So hey my dudes, before going in, let me thank you guys that commented on my last video. I will be keeping the build analysis and weapon analysis in, and thanks a lot for commenting. So initially this was a buff build with lightning blade. For the Falcon I went for a faith build. Buff builds end up not being very flexible. For example, you get the riposte with the Spiked Mace, and then you have to switch up for the Falcon to finish off the dude, and the Falcon isn't buffed, and you'll take a big damage hit. So in the end I ended up switching up the lightning blade for replenishment. I could have gone for great heal because it's really good on faith builds. However, my FP pool didn't allow me to get 2 casts, so I went for replenishment instead. Now, because this is a faith build, never forget to use and abuse your lightning urns. Lightning urns are really strong on faith builds. They do a lot of damage. You can carry 20 of them, and they have a good AoE effect and are real useful in watery sections of the levels. Because their AoE range is increased. So this is the build, straightforward build, the 3 usual rings: Prisoner's Chain, Favor, and Havels, with a floating ring slot. Here I'm using the Cloranti, I'm using the Wellen, the Canvas Talisman, and there's nothing really that stands out in this build except for the poise. Now, because I'm using a Great Hammer, poise needs to be well tuned. I can tank one Ultra Great Sword or Great Axe hit, but not a Great Hammer hit. It would be easy to tune the build. I could take a little bit out of faith and increase my vitality a little bit in order for me to tank one Great Hammer hit, but it's not that common to be facing Great Hammers, and besides, in one-on-one scenarios against a Great Hammer, the Falcon will do okay, or I can outspace the Great Hammer with the Spiked Mace, which is quite long, and it's enough for most opponents. Now, the Spiked Mace is it's an interesting Great Hammer. It's one of the better ones. It has medium weight. It doesn't do a lot of damage. For example, the Great Club out damages it in most stat scenarios. However, it's quite long, and it can do really good mix-ups. All Great Hammers have 2-handed horizontal swings, which means they are good for roll catching if you know what you're doing. However, only the R1s are the real useful attacks. Here I'm doing R2s, and R2s are really not that useful, as well as the one-handed move set. So two-handing the hammer is clearly the best option in my opinion. And taking advantage of that big poise, which you'll have also in the one-handed move set, but it's really hard to catch people with that one-handed move set, and besides, it can be reaction parry if there's not a lot of latency involved. But the really good thing about the Spiked Mace, it's its weapon art, which gives you good mix-up potential. You can R1 into weapon art into R1, which is a true combo with the spin bash. Also, the Great Wooden Hammer also has the same spin bash weapon art, but this one is longer and does more damage, albeit being heavier than the Great Wooden Hammer. And there's also a combo in the weapon art into R1. And the weapon art into R1, it's real useful if you want to catch people unaware, because one of the really common ways to fight Great Hammers is you roll into them and you try to go for the backstab, and you can do it as well, but you need to really time it. You need to time it really well, because if you throw a R1 into the weapon art, it will likely catch the dude that rolled behind you. So that's what makes this weapon good, in my opinion. It's mix-up potential because of the weapon art. About the Falchion, well, I don't really love invading with curved swords, and the Falchion, well, it has its strong suits and weak points. It does a lot of damage, but it's very short, and it doesn't have mix-up potential like the Crescent Moon sword that I've used for the last episode. And it's not that easy to outspace people with the Falchion because of its very low range. That's why I use it a lot of times one-handed. I know it's a curved sword, but I think it's one curved sword that works really well one-handed because it does a really big amount of damage, but the shield gives me the possibility of really getting close to my opponents and wait for them to roll and then go for the roll catch. Other interesting thing, because the Falchion, well, first it was heavy infused, but infused with lightning blade, and then I lightning infused it. It's that when lightning infused, it ends up scaling really badly with strength. And so the difference between one-handing or two-handing the Falchion is like 10 AR. So one of the really good advantages of having it two-handed disappears when lightning infused. There are two true combos on the Falchion. The R2 into weapon art into R2, and the weapon art into R2 into R1. However, because the weapon art or any of the moves of the Falchion has hyper armor, I ended up never using them. Like other curved swords, the weapon art and the R2s don't add anything to it, in my opinion. So I end up using only R1s with the Falchion. So that's all I wanted to say about the build, and let's watch some invasions. So this invasion right here was in the Earthen Peak Ruins in the DLC. I'm fighting against two guys, one of them an overleveled summon, and it seems like the other dude doesn't want to engage me, and this one is only trying to parry me with the cestus. Also, there's a bit of latency going on, and that won't make it easy for him to parry me or for him to roll catch this guy. Now the pyro gets aggroed, and the other dude gets in the fight as well. He's using a split leaf, but by the damage he's doing me, the split leaf is not being optimally used, because the split leaf can do much more damage than that. Now it's really easy to outspace two R1s from an ultra great sword, so this dude should have used much more R1 discipline than just throwing two R1s out of neutral. That's really easy to punish. Here I was trying to go for the now I go for the rolling attack, and the rolling attack on great hammers works really well defensively, because it comes out relatively fast. It doesn't have a lot of range, but it's useful in these situations. Now the dude was using the split leaf, thinking that he could outpoise my great hammer, and this is the good thing about great hammers. Also against Fridas, this dude swapped his weapon. Also against Fridas, it's a beast. He's trying to run away, so one knife ends up the fight there. But both the split leaf and Frida's great sights, and that was one of the reasons that I wanted to leave these invasions in, can be really strong weapons, but not against the great hammer, unless you are very careful fine-tuning your poise. And in the overwhelming majority of builds, they cannot poise through an R1 from a great hammer. So I'm fighting this dude right here, and I'm thinking that I'm not having a lot of luck with the Falchion. There's a bit of latency going on as well, but there's really not a lot this guy can do playing rustically with the split leaf against a great hammer. You can never trade with the great hammer using the split leaf, so he needs to play around me, and halberds are not that good at playing around opponents. Now this dude right here was using the Black Knight Great Axe, and he has a shit ton of poise. And look at how useful the weapon art can be in these scenarios, and also the roll catch from the following R1. So the weapon art is real useful at protecting your back against any weapon, really. And I should have rolled through this. This was a mistake. And this dude is doing immense amount of damage. I think he can kill me in 3 hits. And now I'm punishing with the Falchion, but I'm noticing that I'm not doing a lot of damage, so I decide to buff. And this buff right here is also a bait. You can bait with everything. You can bait with R2s, you can bait with Estus, but you can also bait with buffs. And so from now on I'm just doing what curved swords do well, which is to pressure your opponents. Now I'm doing a good amount of damage, 440 against 600 of full plus 10 Estus. Now he goes for 2 R1s, which is a mistake. I should have been able to punish him in low latency conditions. Now he goes for an R2, it's also a mistake. And now I know I can swing freely because I can swing before his upper armor starts. So once he's backed into a corner, the only thing that he could have done would be to roll and do a rolling attack. This one is quite a different type of invasion. I'm a bit rusty at parrying halberds, I'm afraid. So these guys have 1 pyro and 1 mage. The pyro is throwing Chaos Bed Vestiges, the mage has Crystal Soul Spears. So I'm being very passive, and I'm just trying to whittle down their health. In previous invasions I had killed some of the guys from this party, so they are a bit afraid of me. And the really important thing in this area right here is to protect these mobs, and the easy way to kill these mobs is to backstab them. So you see, I'm trying to protect his back. I fail because the mage is pestering me, but that's the really fast way of killing these mobs. If you don't do this, these mobs have really high poise and they can do a lot of damage. So the key here is always to mind the back of the knight. If someone is trying to circle around the knight, you should attack that dude. So I'm just trying to bait him into the next section. I'm just walking around trying not to get hit, and now the knight gets aggroed. So I'm trying not to have too big of a distance to the party. I'm trying to scare them off. Sometimes I run into them. And this guy right here, the Sunbro, was the dude in charge of backstabbing the knight. And I managed to protect the back of the knight, and now look, as the knight goes into the host and one-shots him. So this was a really cool invasion. You don't need to kill 4 guys to have fun. Just thinking about these mechanics is really fun for me, and it's one of the reasons I really like this game. So in this invasion right here, I'm being very aggressive because they are fighting the gargoyle as well, so I take the opportunity to go for the shield break against the host. And now I want to set up parry this dude in order not to miss the timing on the parry here, and I get to one-shot kill this dude. But now I don't have the buff, so I immediately go for the hammer, and I know that this guy is going for the ladder, so I immediately equip the throwing knives and I start throwing them in order for me to go for the charged R2. So I two-hand it and I go for the charged R2 for the pancake kill. This is something some people don't know, is that when you fall from a ladder, you'll be in a vulnerable state where you cannot roll while you're getting up, and so you can go for big R2 to get a lot of damage in them. Now this invasion right here was an interesting one. The host has summoned the NPC Hawkwood for this challenging area, and he's going to send Hawkwood home. However, he's using a very meta dueling setup. He's using Pontiff Knight, and he also has a crossbow. So I'm woefully undermatched in this situation right here. He has more range than I do. I do more damage, but I don't do 30% more damage because that's the health differential between him and I. So I'm using the Llewellyn in order to get close to him, but even so I'll be taking chip damage because the Llewellyn is not really made for blocking. So I will heal in this fight, but it does make a difference when you heal. Because if I heal right now, he will heal as well, and he has the double Estus that I do. So I need to heal in an intelligent manner, and only when it really suits me. And he's also playing very defensively, like duelists do. So now I'm going for the two-handed attacks, but he's evading everything I do, like a good duelist does. However, this next exchange helps to explain why I think that curved swords are very good in duels, but they are not so good in invasions. They are very good at doing damage, but they are not very good when healing is involved. This guy roll caught me, now I roll 2 times, and now I know that I can heal. And he goes for the running attack. I have already healed, and then he gets greedy and he goes for an R1. He gets parried, and now I go for the riposte. I needed to do this at the specific time, or else he would have healed before. So now he's under the effects of Lloyd's. I can heal safely, and the dude goes for a gesture, which is not the best course of action, because he wanted to roll out of his gesture because he thought I was going to attack. But I just run after him for the roll catch, and then I get another roll catch because he panicked. And he should have waited for the Lloyd's effect to go out and stalled me, but instead he decided to do a salty gesture, which I understand. He thought he was getting an honorable duel with 30% more health, twice the Estus, and a dueling meta setup. It's our job as an invader to work around those perceptions and get the win nevertheless. So this invasion right here, it's against solo hosts as well. And what's interesting in this fight right here is that this guy is playing in a way that's not very common at soul level 90. He's doing a critical build. He's using a critical build. And he immediately tried to parry my two-handed Great Hammer. And he goes for parries a lot, as you can see. And you usually see these guys on the swamp, not so much at higher levels. And this is because at higher levels, if you whiff your parry, you'll get a lot of punishment, as you'll see later on. So I don't want to get parried by this dude, so I go back to the Great Hammer, but he's evading everything I do. He's throwing Chaos Bed Vestiges, so I need to go back to the Falchion and use the Lightning Blade to get more damage in. And I'm trying to go for the backstab, and now this dude guard breaks me. He wasn't expecting it. But now and I didn't want to get guard broken, but he didn't take the riposte, so I can use this as bait as well, because I know that probably once he sees the guard break animation, he's gonna come back and try to get the riposte. And now I'm getting dialed in on the backstabs, and this dude is in trouble right now. So I'm waiting for him to parry, and I'm being very careful in order to not get parried on the second parry attempt, and I go for the second backstab. And some say that he's still parrying on Host Heaven. I don't know. So this invasion right here highlights something I love about Dark Souls 3 invasions, which is they can be not only mechanically interesting but tactically interesting. Now there's one overlevel Phantom who's being very aggressive, and the host. And the gank squad is still alive, and the host does the good play and goes for the seed. So now I have the 3 NPCs plus the 2 players chasing me. And my plan is to divert the attention of everybody to me, because everybody is now aggroing me. But I know that the seed will have a timer, and if I can dodge everything for those 45 seconds, I think, they will be in a world of hurt. Also, the NPCs can also aggro on the host if they're close enough. And now I see that the NPC here is very close to the host. So I go for 2 R1s to get the host to back off, and then the NPC kills the host. So this was a really fun invasion where I took advantage of the seed mechanics. And the patches to the seed were one of the best patches that From Software made in Dark Souls 3, because it became something that you should use strategically, the host should use strategically. Before that, it was obvious that if the invader was in your world, you should use the seed. So that was a great balancing patch in my opinion. Now in this invasion right here, I'm fighting 2 dudes here in the ringed city, and this dude backed off to a dead end zone. So I'm trying just to do some damage. Here I go for the setup parry on his greatsword, and now I see that the Sunbro tries to attack me, and it's interesting because the Sunbro he's a mage. But he tried to melee me out of the riposte. So I know that probably he's gonna do the same, and that will be useful for later. Now I want these dudes to stay put in that zone, so I'm trying just to make them not move while they get hit by the angel. And now I'm able to take the Sunbro out of his safe zone, but I failed to kill this dude. Now they go to this shack right here, and they think they are safe because I cannot go in there because they'll hit me. But I'm not, because of the lightning urns. Lightning urns are amazing in Faith builds, and I'm doing almost 200 damage to the Sunbro, which is very good. He's wasting a lot of FP, of health, I'm sorry, for attacking me there. So I'm just trying to ward off the host in there while I get some damage in on the Sunbro. Now I get another parry, and now I know that the Sunbro is probably coming for me. He will try to melee me again out of the riposte. So I'll get hit on purpose once in order for the timings to become correct for the parry. And now I'm able to kill the Sunbro. Now this dude needs to get back in the shack again, and what was working very well against the Sunbro doesn't work very well against this dude, because he has a shield. He was blocking the lightning urns. So I go for the hyper armor weapon because I can poise through his attacks, but he manages to get some damage in me, so I retreat to heal again. But I know that this is how this fight's gotta end, or at least I need to do a lot of damage. And look at the weapon art providing a shield for me by doing an arc, like a 360 arc behind me. And that changed the whole dynamic of the fight, because he thought that he was going to hit me, and then the weapon art provides me that mix-up that allows me for a further R1 and then end up the fight. So I really enjoyed that feature on the Spiked Mace. Now this was more of a meme invasion right here. For a while I've been trying to get a 2v1 with only using lightning urns without swinging my weapon, and this gargoyle provided me with a very good distraction in order for me to kill the Sunbro. And I'm just peppering this dude with lightning urns, and that's one thing I really like about Dark Souls 3. There's so many ways to kill your opponents, and now this dude's gonna roll, so I need to free him the last one. And killing with lightning urns or consumables or using the seeds, it provides you with so many tactic possibilities, and that's something that keeps me playing this game. Well, that's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time. Raven out.